Hey everyone, Ian King here, editor at Smart Profits Daily with your weekly market insights video. And joining me this week is my friend and colleague, Steve Fernandez. Steve, how's it going out there?
I'm doing great. Hope
All
you are
right,
as
good.
well.
Good to see you. And so we've got some breaking news this week. Steve, why don't you fill viewers in on what's happening right now with Bitcoin in Central America?
Sure. A lot of people already know, but Bitcoin is being accepted as legal tender in El Salvador. That means multinational corporations that are located there with locations there, they have to accept Bitcoin in some form.
Does that mean Tesla, if they operate in El Salvador, has to accept Bitcoin now as payment?
Yeah, so they will have to accept Bitcoin as payment, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to have to hold that Bitcoin. If the corporation would like to, they could convert it into fiat practically instantly.
Okay. So huge news here. First country in the world to accept Bitcoin as legal tender. This is a cryptocurrency that was invented a little over 10 years ago. And now we are seeing it, start to gain more widespread adoption. Let's talk about some of the solutions it solves. I mean, number one, you've got the remittance market. So you have El Salvadorians working all over the world, a lot of them in the United States and Canada. And those immigrants are trying to send money back to their home country. In a lot of these cases, they get charged 10 or sometimes 20% from Western Union and other vendors. Bitcoin is going to allow them now to send money back for free. Is that correct, Steve?
Right. There might be a marginal fee for transacting the Bitcoin, but in comparison to these, remittance companies like Western Union or, MoneyGram, it's going to be a lot cheaper and more efficient. They can do it
Incredible.
from
And
their phones.
and so listen, you also looked at some of the data on the number of unbanked citizens in Central America, or maybe specifically El Salvador.
Right.
What does this mean for, Salvadorians that don't have bank accounts?
Sure. About 70% of that population is unbanked completely. And that's a little bit higher than the global average because there's a lot of people in developed countries. The global average is still 31% of the population unbanked. So with that ability to, potentially just pull out your smartphone, it makes it a lot easier to transact and should improve the quality of life for that population.
So you're talking about 2 billion people around the world that are unbanked right now. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we take it for granted for sure.
Yeah, we really do in the United States. I mean, I know I like to hate on banks and I don't like going to bank branches or whatnot, but it just seems amazing that you're taking these unbanked populations and basically just leapfrogging this whole idea of having to build financial infrastructure and providing them with a wallet that can just be easily downloaded on a mobile phone. Because a lot of these citizens that don't have banks do have mobile phones, correct?
That's correct. I think it's something like 67% of the world has a mobile phone.
Okay, and that's
So,
that's going up dramatically too. I mean, like the numbers every year, mobile phone penetration is going up a lot faster than banking penetration. So I think we'll
sure.
see in a lot of these developing countries, you start to build financial services around these mobile wallets and not necessarily the stodgy old banks. But another really interesting thing that we need to discuss is that El Salvador pegs their currency to the dollar. And a lot of countries around the world do that, especially in the Middle East when they do a lot of trade with the US in oil for dollars, which they call petrodollars. And also a lot of countries in Central America do it because it's very good for tourism. Um, what does this mean though for citizens that live in El Salvador or say Nicaragua that peg to the dollar? I mean, they're always at the mercy of the Fed. So if the Fed's increasing the money supply and adding reserves to US banks, they're effectively making more dollars, but they're not helping out Central America. And it leads to debt crisis after debt crisis in these countries. It's kind of fascinating, though, that now they have an alternative in Bitcoin, isn't it?
Absolutely. Being able to use Bitcoin, it really keeps those companies honest, as we talked about before this.
Mhm. Yeah, you're right. I mean, all the countries are going to have to be a lot of these governments that have been running, fiscal deficits and hoarding money for, their own elite families and whatnot are now at the whims of an alternative currency that their citizens can say, look, we don't want to own the Nicaraguan Cordobas, or the Salvadorian colones anymore. We want to own Bitcoin. And the governments have to ensure that the citizens are going to want to own their own currency by being a little more transparent and honest with the ways that they invest, taxpayers' money and invest in the future of their country. So I think this is a really bright spot for not just El Salvador, but a lot of other countries. I think you mentioned there are a number of them that are looking at doing this right now. Do you have any more color on that?
Right. There's a couple of countries in Central and South America that have expressed general interest. We don't know that will pan out, but if there's legislation that's proposed, there's a chance that they could follow suit with what El Salvador has done. But yeah, I think like you mentioned, it really presents an opportunity for economic growth in these countries. So it's not just crypto; it's a lot bigger than that. It's a win for humanity, possibly.
Yeah, and specifically to El Salvador, I know that I've spoken to a number of crypto folks that are already like, I'm buying property in El Salvador. I'm going there on vacation. We're putting a satellite office there because this is the country that's actually, really embracing the freedom and the openness that comes from Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies more than any other country in the world. So that's really exciting for the Salvadorian economy. And I heard I haven't been there, but I heard they have great surf there. So it's definitely on my radar now, especially because they accept cryptocurrency. So let's end it there. Any comments? If you like what we have to say, please, smash that like button. Our social media team tells us it helps us bring our comments and our knowledge out to the rest of the YouTube universe. And please, any comments or questions you have below, please hit us up there and we will address them in a future YouTube video. Steve, have a great weekend, and everyone else, thank you for tuning in. We'll speak to you next week. Thank you.